Welcome everybody to a very, very special Beyond the Plate Instagram Live brought to you by Sub-Zero Wolf and Cove. I have thought a lot about how I was going to introduce this very, very special chef. And I could say and start off with the fact that he was the youngest chef to ever have earned 3 stars from New York Times Magazine, the New York Times, for restaurant Aquavit. And I could also say that he has been awarded the James Beard Award for Best Chef, New York. But instead, I would like to talk about his humanity and really shine a light on a man who has been a leader, as I had mentioned in one of my posts, on any given day. This is a man who, it comes from within. There he is, Marcus. And during this most difficult time, which is our global pandemic, what he has done and how he has taken the bull by the horn and led a community is something that I cannot wait to talk about more than anything else, and all of his other accomplishments. And I had spent the morning really, really deep in thought. I have had the luxury of interviewing Chef Marcus Samuelsson and as well filming with him for Beyond the Plate. And the thing that I walked away with and something that resonated, he's here to finish my story, but we'll come back to this. Chef Marcus Samuelsson, we are waiting for you. Hi, Mohammed. Hold on. Wrong. Okay, we're still waiting for Chef. That's okay. That was actually at the Four Seasons at the Marcus restaurant. So I'm going to keep talking and wait for Chef to join us. So something that I wanted to say that really resonated with me, and definitely it's because of the mother in me, in reading this chef's biography and memoir in his own words, yes, Chef, there's this particular part where his mother, he was born in Ethiopia, and as he says, like in a hut, and his mother was sick and dying, and walked with Marcus and his sister to the hospital to get help and to make sure that they were going to be taken care of. And she never made it, and she actually died once they got to the hospital, and him and his sister were later adopted by a Swedish family. But I think the point is that that resilience that his mother showed, I feel, lives deep within this man. And so he's a natural born leader, and he has led the community in Harlem like no other. I had been invited to the Red Rooster in Harlem back in last Father's Day. I believe it was June. And I wanted to get out of Montreal desperately because Father's Day is always difficult for me because I lost my father 5 years ago. And Chef Marcus extended the invitation for me to go and visit him in Harlem at Red Rooster. So the thing that's really special, I don't stand here speaking about a man that I don't know, and I don't stand here waxing poetic about the kind of person that he is, because I did get to experience over many different encounters just what a leader is. And here he is, Chef Marcus Samuelsson. It's good. I got to talk all about him while he wasn't here to say, no, don't talk about me that way, because he is very humble. Hi, Chef.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I was just talking endlessly about how you are a natural born leader on any given day.
Okay, cool. Well, it's good to see you. How's your summer, Heidi?
So far, so good. I can't complain. I seem to have brought the warm sunshine weather for us today. Sadly, you're not here to see it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you're having the weather. Has it been hot in Montreal, or what's the summer been like so far?
It's been absolutely magnificent. I have to say, not one complaint. Even when it rains, it's beautiful. It's one less day for watering the garden and the flowers. So I'm just taking it all in. I think at a time where there is just too much to complain about, it's the small, beautiful things that count.
Yeah.
So, Chef, I have never done this before where, even though I probably know you better than most other chefs because we have spent so much time and I have interviewed you, I still did a tremendous amount of research, even leading up to today, because I feel that your contribution to the world has been so significant in these short few months. It's almost as if I needed to relearn and reconfigure how I was going to interview you today, because I'm just in awe. And I know you're very humble, and I got to talk about you before you joined, but I was just listening to the podcast with Jason Diakite. I didn't want
Great.
to say
Diakite. Yeah, very good. Diakite. Yeah. Yeah.
Diakite.
Yeah.
And I just, I took down so many takeaways. It's resonated. I actually went for a walk in the forest to kind of marinate everything, because what you talked about with him was poetic. You know, I want to know how you're doing. I, of course, want to talk about how you have rallied your community in Harlem. And I was about to say before you joined that I've been to Red Rooster. Like, I've had the privilege of not just standing here and saying, yeah, I had a drink at Marcus. Like, I've lived and breathed the culture and the community that you've built. So
thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what's happened in the last few months, because interestingly, your podcast was back in May and it was very futuristic. I think it was May, because you were wondering what things would look like right about now.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, obviously, the world has changed completely, right? It's not that we can undo or unsee what happened on two fronts, right? In America, we are approaching 140,000 deaths of COVID, and also the spring and the virus of racism. So these two things are obviously running parallel, and it's, you know, when you have the luxury of living in a community like Harlem and operating in Harlem, I live here and our restaurant is here, so that intersection, I see it constantly, right? COVID has disproportionately hit Black and Brown and Indigenous community in terms of illnesses, sickness, and also, of course, in terms of death. And all the underlying things that are there, right? Not access to healthcare, etc. And then, you know, what do you do as a chef, as a creative, when you can't cook for an audience? And that was really what this moment was about. Me and Jason, we started. He's a rapper, American rapper that grew up in Sweden, and me being Swedish but living in America. So we have this very nuanced, specific relationships to America, but also these audiences that are across Scandinavia, but also across for the world, like in America. So what did two Black creatives do in a time like this? We both are fathers to young kids, and how do we trade notes? So that's really what this moment's about. And we talk a lot about, you know, Red Rooster at this moment is closed, and but yet we're doing the most important work. We are serving the community, about 1,000 to 1,200 people a day, the neediest and the first responders. So you can actually be in a time, Heidi, where you are closed, but you can also do the most important work. So it's a very complex, layered situation. Some of our restaurants around the world will not reopen, and some will. You know, we tried in Miami to open, but because COVID has hit later in Miami and Florida than in New York, we have to give up. We have to say, hey, we can't try to open up. We got to stop, and we're probably opening up in fall instead. So the COVID is really, it's really tough for restaurants right now. Really, really tough. But not just restaurants, all of us.
Absolutely. But like you were mentioning in the podcast, that, you know, the idea, what is the true meaning of restaurant? The true meaning is to restore your community.
Yeah.
These are your
Okay.
words, and I had done the
Yeah.
research on the root of restaurant as well back in the day, and most people I don't know even know that. It's such a
No,
beautiful word.
it is. Restaurant means to restore your community. And you think about it, I can talk to you about it in American numbers. Independent restaurants, there are 11 million people, Heidi, that work in the restaurant world in America, in independent restaurants. There's another 5 million people, 6 million people working with ancillary jobs, whether it's cleaning or purveyors and so on. So between 15 to 17 million people work in independent restaurants. Well, I would say right now in America, about 60% of them are unemployed. So this is a very, very big impact on our community. Who's going to come back? Who's working at 30%? 30, 40, 50, 60%, it's not an option for a business that traditionally have very low margins, you know. So we need support, we need help. I'm happy to see that Marcus in Montreal has opened back up. It takes a lot, I take a lot of pride in what the time, with the timing of it and with team effort and, you know, Four Seasons job and you know, Andrew's commitment to open back up and the commitment to safety. So I'm extremely proud that we have opened back up, and obviously our dining room is you know, safety is everything. So we think about that, but you have to think about it in terms of privilege, and you can't take it for granted.
Absolutely. And I need to tell you that I, of course, made my way to Marcus to experience before talking to you, because I don't ever want to just talk about something that I don't know from my heart. And walking in, I just want you to know, because we can't have you yet, and we'll wait at the borders ready
Yeah,
for
yeah.
when you can come here. But it was so well done, because that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking
Hmm.
for that leadership, because even if I have one voice or one person watching, I also have my kids watching, seeing what
Yeah,
I do. I have to go where I feel safe. And,
yeah.
you know, that temperature right at the door, they open up the elevator, they press the button for you. I walked in,
Hmm.
and I felt immediately a semblance of normal, which
Yeah.
is hard to create. So the fact that Marcus did manage to do that, and I want you to know, is uh, a reflection on you, because that
Thank you.
team, even though you're not there, you are there.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's I'm really proud of, and it took many many calls and a lot of effort, but the team on ground is the one doing all the work for it. And you know, we're learning. You know, when we started to partner, for example, with World Central Kitchen here in Harlem, because we knew that our community would be hit very very hard. They said we know how to serve social distance safe. We have masks before any other place had masks. We have, of course, all the gloves in the world. So these are things now that, of course, everyone knows about masks and gloves and thermometers and all that stuff. But in those early days in March, no one knew what this looked like. And we've learned so much. You know, we learn a lot about ourselves. We learn about humility, humanity, and haves and don't haves. And we can compare this. You know, I trade notes with how Sweden is doing and how other places are doing that are close to me. And it's been, Heidi, the toughest thing in our life. You know, end of February, last week of February, I was in Miami and for South Beach Food and Wine. And Jose Andres said to me, I'm speaking tomorrow about World Central Kitchen. You should really come because um, I have some important information. And I went over there and listened to his message. And little did I know that 10 days later, he was the first call I did. I said, hey, Jose, remember about World Central Kitchen, what you told me? I think we're going to need your help. And he said, I got it. And he sent people right away. And that's when we converted Red Rooster from a regular restaurant with regular opening hours to a community kitchen. And we've been going ever since.
So you have that going, because I heard you say you called up, you pulled all your resources
Mm-hmm.
in Newark,
Mm-hmm.
in Harlem,
Miami.
Miami, and you have a team that's feeding, would you say, how many people you said?
Yeah, I mean, I just literally just ran over from the restaurant now because I knew you and I would be talking. But we've served over 220,000 meals so far between those restaurants. So I don't know how many days. So it's like from mid-March to now. So every day in New York, it's about 1,100 to 1,200 meals a day. Um, Newark, I would say 400 to 500 meals, not every day, but like probably 4 days a week. So, and Miami, we just stopped serving, but we were going about 300 to 400 meals. And we extended this too, because Heidi, what do you do when you have 100 meals left and the line is 700 people deep? But we figure out how to fundraise. And we actually just had a special on ABC on Saturday called Harlem Serves Up that worked as a fundraiser um, for World Central Kitchen, for Harlem. And we've been able to get 15 other restaurants involved, and they serve about 400 meals each. So we've been able to grow this, and it was everything between the entertainment community, so actors like Michael B. Jordan, singers like rappers like Common, amazing singers that helped us out, and top chefs in the country. So like Emeril Lagasse to Melba. So everybody came together to do the special, and it was very successful and raised a lot of money.
How amazing does it feel to know that you have the capacity and the magic to pick
Mm-hmm.
up the phone and be able to put that in motion? There's so many things that people are like blah blah blah, and it's like boom, you pick up the phone, you make it happen, you're in there, you're creating something. And like you said, your creativity and your ability to dream is who you are.
Yeah.
So you kind of in essence just put it in another direction.
Yeah.
But that's the fire in your belly, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of coming into a new, you're almost birthing another part of yourself through this.
Well, you have to, Heidi, because when you're privileged enough to be able to, first of all, my son is healthy, my wife is healthy, and our community is healthy, around immediate around us, but not the larger community. And I think was to say, hey, I have to do this. And one of the most important thing for me was to move to Harlem and operate in Harlem, because you see it on first basis. We are not phoning this in. This is not something we speak about hypothetically. Uh, Once you see Harlem, you see America. You see $4 million brownstones, and you see people that are less fortunate, and everybody in between. And nobody's coming to help you out. You have to actually connect with your community and do it collectively. And I think hospitality, all of us that work in hospitality, we are driven by that. How can I help out? Chefs do it always, and a lot of chefs, and you connect chefs and audiences together. So that fundraising is not something that is new to the chef community. So we knew what to do. We just need to talk how to do it and when to do it. And we have a food festival that we created called Harlem Meet Up. So through Harlem Meet Up, we had all those relationships. This year, we couldn't be together on that lawn where we have 15,000 people, but so we connected in a different way and became in a TV show instead. So, and it was a fundraiser. So we move forward, and it's inspired a lot, but it's also helped a lot of people, and that's the most important thing.
It's unbelievable. And the other thing is, you were saying the restaurant industry, by the virtue and essence of who you are, this pandemic is like it's everything that the restaurant isn't, meaning it's about gathering and joyful togetherness. And now you have to deconstruct this whole industry based on distancing and not being gathered. And it's like a whole new creative way to, I guess, redesign and this challenge of what's going to be coming up. I mean, are you in bed at night challenging yourself and creatively trying to think about what potentially, like you were saying at Red Rooster, maybe out on the street, maybe the streets are blocked off for who knows how long, to be able to have that spill out, and like you were saying, the rooftop. So are you there yet, or you're not there yet to start thinking?
I'm thinking about it, absolutely. I don't think we've taken it to action yet, because we know that I think that pivoting is key, right? We have to pivot. It happened to many industries after many dramatic post-Second World War. People had to change. Coming from a country like Ethiopia, where you're constantly around dramatic changes, right? Sweden, much less so. But I do think as an immigrant, you learn how to pivot because you're uprooted and you leave and you enter something new. So I've done that 5 times in my life. So I do know that I had to pivot when I got here, right? Post 9/11, post the financial crisis, 2008. So, and that's happening in other industries, whether it's the publishing world or whether it's the music world that went from LPs to CDs to basically now you can have all the music in your phone, right? So other industries, and I draw inspiration from that. So I do know that a lot of my great colleagues are not coming back. And it saddens me. So I think a lot about what's going to happen to us as an industry. But I'm lucky and privileged not to be healthy, and therefore I know I can create. So starting the podcast, this moment was a way to connect with an audience. We have our restaurant Street Bird. That's always been our pop-up restaurant. We now just launched Gold Belly. So Street Bird, you can now buy a fried chicken across the nation, right? So thinking through how to connect with an audience is something obviously you're doing constantly. You have to constantly tweak your clips and how you're interacting, and you get data back about how long are people watching and all of those different things, and you're pivoting and you're building it from scratch. So that's what we're going through. Being a chef is equivalent of being a tribe leader, and you have to do different things as the challenges of the tribe is in front of you. And right now we're being challenged in our traditional sense of being a restaurant. But we are a restaurant. You can't come and tell my cooks that they're not cooks, that the servers are not servers and the bartenders are not bartenders. So we will come back fully. Montreal is ahead of New York right now, and probably will be for a long time. But we will come back fully. And I miss being in Montreal. I miss the incredible connection that Montreal has given to our restaurant. And I'm grateful that people came back to us so quickly. And I'm grateful for what the staff is doing.
Well, it's interesting because notoriously in Montreal, I can only speak of our own city, when big name chefs come in the past and plunk their name at the door and then they leave, and then there's this big excitement because like we're this cute little city and we get all jazzed up about big names coming and investing and putting their heart and soul, and then you go and it's hollow and there's no heart and soul whatsoever.
Yeah.
You feel like you bought a ticket to a no-show, literally, figuratively. But with you, it was like everything mattered. You wanted to know what the local Montrealer wanted. What was the feel? Like your heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, whether you're there or not because of this. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I didn't want this for you so that I could tell you you've done a great job, because everything you've put in there. I mean, Marcus, you, the person, are the embodiment of that restaurant, and it's just a beautiful thing to see that the city embraced that. And another thing,
I mean, the city has been amazing, and that's something that I never took for granted. I read about all those big, great chefs as well. And for us, the opportunity was to do something different. And I think really there's a couple of things to that, right? The fact that Andrew is from Montreal. So every meeting we have, he always talked about with the city and being part of this center of the city where people can come for so many different reasons, right? And that really stuck with us. Second thing is that, when you get platform, you're really saying this is a promise, an opportunity, and people take their hard-earned money and go somewhere with a hope. Do they see me? Do I matter? So when you have that hope, you better deliver. And that has to trickle down to the whole team. And that's a sense of responsibility and level of excellence that people got to say, I'm part of something. The staff is part of something, but also the customer is part of this journey. It's a privilege to be in Montreal, and it's a privilege to work with the Four Seasons, and it's a privilege to have a restaurant that is part of the conversation of the city, the drumbeat of the city. That's all you can ask for. Anytime you open a restaurant, there's a huge room for improvement, and we are no different. Our computer system broke down. We got the wrong order. We made mistakes. but our heart is always in the right place in terms of humility, but also commitment to excellence.
There's nothing I love more when I get to come to the restaurant and see you there,
Yeah,
and watch, I feel like a big shot. I'm like, oh, there's my friend walk in the
yeah,
room. But for them
yeah,
seeing you, it's like he's here and
yeah,
he's like next to us and he wants to know, was that dish up to
yeah.
standard? And I see their faces look up when they see that you're there. It's very cool. It's like you sprinkled a little bit of fairy dust onto our city, and it's genuine, and
Thank
that's
you.
what I love, is the genuineness behind it, and we can't wait to have you back. But
Thank
we're
you.
getting ahead, because I also wanted to say, and I ask you, because when I read Yes Chef, something that has stayed with me, and like I could get choked up. I actually went for a walk before this to get
Yeah,
ready. But when I think about your mom walking with you
yeah,
and your sister, and that stays with me. It has left an indelible mark on the way I think about
mm,
you and your mother and that warrior. And it's probably because I'm a mom too.
yeah,
But do you think that warrior is living inside of you and somehow?
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I answered it in two ways. My father was it's a tribe leader in Ethiopia, and when I got to get to know him his last 10 years, and watching him, you know, being the head of that tribe, and these were huts in the middle of the countryside, but holding meetings, working towards getting water for the whole tribe, uh, building a church, these like very monumental things that are still there today. That was fascinating to me. And that was like, oh, I'm part of that. But then also thinking through my mom's journey from the village to the capital, not only doing that on foot, but then also once she got to the capital, figuring out as a country woman with two kids on her shoulders, how to get to a hospital, right? And, you
Walking.
know, things like this, like we had to eat at night because it was super hot. We had to bring dry food, all these things that you have to preemptive think about. So, yeah, I mean, I don't take any of that for granted, and it's because of her I'm here. Um, but I also was lucky enough to get adopted to Sweden, where I had incredible guidance of my Swedish parents, and it's also because of them I'm here. So I'm lucky enough to have had a lot of people guide me and mentor me to where I am today. And I get, trust me, at this moment, I need all of that juju to deal because it's very difficult, not just for me, but for the team. And then again, I have to also put all that aside because when I come home and I look at my 4-year-old boy, he doesn't care. He's
Yeah.
like, uh, I'm here, I'm ready to play, let's go. And it's been great to have Zion and just talk to him through this. And part of the reason why I did this moment, the podcast, was to document this time. When he's 15 or whenever he's ready, he can go back and it's been really strong. I mean, the stuff that you documenting a journey for your kids whenever they want to check out what mom is doing. Well, it's right there. So these are powerful messages, not just for your audience, but also for yourself and your family.
Agreed. It makes it that much scarier every move that I make at this time, because I lay down the law here, but then they're like making sure that I follow the same rules that I set for them. So I'm like,
Good,
okay, I'm
good.
just gonna stay home.
Social distancing. Yeah, you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
I scare the pants off of them. Something else that I loved was the little anecdote about your friend's grandmother or auntie, like that you said how she had known you forever,
Mm-hmm.
and you had seen her, and she said to you, she's known you since you're a little boy, that God is telling us something. Like I'm telling you, every little nugget has stayed with me. I'm going to be
Yeah,
processing this for a while.
yeah.
There was something very magical about that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Rochelle's grandmother, she's been around for a long time, and she just looked at it. This is this lady that she owns property in Newark, and she's just this tough woman, right? Like she's self-made, just like plowing through. And she just felt that uh, maybe the world is doing too much, and maybe this is the message that we have to slow down a little bit. And She's very religious. So the way she speaks about it is the way God presents these challenges are just in different ways. And she just said, she took it as this is a sign that we have to slow down and doing too much, whether it's environmental, whether it's, you know, and, coming from a different generation, I respect that. She's seen everything. She's seen a lot. So people are dealing with through the through this period and moment very differently.
Mhm.
Heidi, you're gonna have bad days, and you're allowed to have bad days. I have good days, and then have bad days, and then have two good days again. And you can get upset about stuff that you normally wouldn't get upset about. And then I'm grateful for things. My block is for the summer is shut down, so no cars are allowed. So it's just for the kids, and I'm so grateful for that. Right? That my community is doing things so the kids can at least have access to water and just sitting on a stoop being kids. Small things like that have meant massively for me this summer, right? So it has helped me be more grateful. The silver lining is I spent more time with my son. So there is things here that is part of the new normal. Most of it's a very awkward, difficult, and challenging on every level. But I also have to look and say every day we're healthy. Okay, let's go. It's going to be okay.
I agree. And it's an interesting time as far as the kids, when they look back on this, especially with chefs, because every chef I've spoken to, every man and woman has said they've never had this family time before. Like I was talking to a husband and wife yesterday, team, and they've never been a family before. They've never had this kind of template of husband, wife, child, and
Yeah.
spend a day and a night and a day and a night. And there is something that our kids are going to look back on, and they're probably not going to see the death toll, and they're not going to see, they're going to kind of go, we never had our parents around so much.
Mm-hmm.
This was a time of a collective eating around the table longer than ever, and running in the streets that are closed, filled with water, and sitting on the stoop. There's
Yeah.
something, like she said, we haven't been kind to one another. She was
Mm-hmm.
also saying that we haven't been taking care of each other. We needed a pause and a reset button. And
Yeah.
I think that the ones who really get to feel that are going to get something very special from this time. And you're one of those people.
Yeah. I mean, creativity, thank you. But creativity is also going through a massive, uh, I can't wait to hear the music that's going to come out of this moment. Out of, I can't wait to see the art that's going to be created, right? It's a little bit too early yet, but the food that's going to be very specific out of this situation. Maybe it's going to be super local, for example, right? So it's almost I mean, we're not out of this yet, but there are things that's going to come out of this that's going to stay forever. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful um, to be to speaking to you, and I'm grateful to have had this opportunity to really revalue my situation and be like, okay, I'm going to change it up a little bit. So thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
waited patiently, and I
Yes,
feel like I've been a good, patient little bird, and you delivered many beautiful nuggets for me. And I'm glad that I waited and tempered myself, because I'm just a little like eager, but the timing was more meaningful
yeah,
to you now after having a few months pass. And you were right in saying, like, it's not the right time yet, and I
yeah.
appreciate that. And once again, a leader, but also somebody that I cherish, and think that I'm just grateful that the world has you. I don't know how else
Thank
to
you.
say it. So
Thank you, Heidi.
thank you.
And I'll see you in Montreal soon. Okay. Thank you so
We're
much.
going to be at the border waiting.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you.